What is up, YouTube tubers of the world? My name is Brad. Welcome to the workbench. Got a little bitty project here. Testing out some resin, some new resin that was sent to me actually. So if you want to see how this Incredible Solutions Porable plastic resin turns, stick around.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
So yes, I'm back with another turning video. I told you guys you would see more of these, and you're going to, because I've caught the bug. I'm officially a wood turner, resin turner, whatever you want to call it. This is not just for old men anymore, or maybe I've just become an old man, who knows. But really and truly, I just wanted to try out this resin to get a feel for how it turns and everything else before I actually dive into the bigger resin and wood bowl I have planned coming up. So I just used a cup as a mold, and I threw it in my pressure pot for a couple days. And just for those that don't know, letting the resin cure under a pressure, which I think I kept this rolling around 50 psi, helps keep all the bubbles out of the resin. And as you can see, I made the same mistake I've seen a million YouTubers make. All the glitter went to the bottom. So I never ended up getting any of that in the egg that I ended up turning with it. I started out using a 1/4 inch bowl gouge just because I don't get to use this tool very much. This was a small project, and I really actually enjoy turning with this smaller bowl gouge, especially on smaller projects like this. But I do end up switching to my carbide tools because, again, I wanted to see how they were going to react with this casting resin. But I did keep running into a problem I don't see other turners, resin turners on YouTube have, and that is all these shavings getting caught up in my chuck. I swear I probably could have got done with this project in half the amount of time if I wasn't having to constantly stop and clear them shavings out of the chuck. But even with that constant irritation, I can see where people fall in love with resin turning. First of all, you can turn just about anything that's softer than high-speed steel because you can put almost anything in resin. And second of all, it's just a pleasure to turn. It's so buttery soft, and I don't know, maybe it's because the last couple projects I've had have been bow dart and mesquite, which are some of the harder woods in Texas. But this stuff was just so nice to turn. I think my bowl gouge I sharpened once at the very beginning. My carbide, of course, I didn't really even have to sharpen at all. It just cut so nice. Nice strings, as you can see there. And before I even knew it, it was time to start sanding. I went from 100 to 400 before I switched over to wet sanding, which then I worked my way up to 1,000 grit using the old Jake Thompson technique, another great resin turner. He's definitely one of the guys that got me into the resin turning. And here I am just parting off the egg, and I didn't have it go flying across the shop like most of the things I part off. And now it's just to shape up the top with, again, more sandpaper. When I was happy with the shape of it, I went ahead and switched over to, again, the wet sanding. Even though these little 2-inch discs aren't true wet sandpaper, they still work just fine. So most people that work with resin will go ahead and sand up to a high grit like I did, and then buff and polish their resin. I'm not set up for that yet, so I settled for the next best thing. Clear lacquer. I put about 3 different coats of lacquer on it, about 15 minutes apart each, let it cure for a day, took it out into the sun, and this is what I saw. I was very pleased with how it turned out. Guys, well, there she is, one Easter egg, and I love I don't know what to call it, the waviness inside. I guess that's that interference. Right, people way more educated out there to tell you about how interference colors work than me, so let's just say it looks cool. I turned this egg. It is actually Easter Day now, so this video's probably come out a month later, a couple weeks later. My daughters were napping, so I snuck out here and had a cup of resin that I poured just as a test pour, you know, and I don't want it to go to waste, so everybody's out there turning eggs. I figured I'd give it my go. The resin used was the Porable Plastics by Incredible Solutions. They actually sent the resin over to me, and it performed amazingly well. Granted, I've only used tabletop epoxy and other things. I'm never using an actual casting resin. Was a lot different than using the tabletop. The tabletop epoxy was very chippy, in my experience at least. This came off like butter, man, with the bowl gouge, with the carbide. It didn't matter what I was using. Hopefully my daughters will enjoy it. You know, I'm sure the oldest one will keep it and not let the youngest one play with it at all. But there's not much else I can say about it. It was an egg. I appreciate you sticking around to the end. So if you like this Easter egg, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button down there, holler at y'all next time. Peace!